All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you for attending today's Boston Bruins Town Hall featuring Hockey Hall of Famer Gerry Cheevers as we celebrate the 50th anniversary of the 1970 Stanley Cup champions. I'm Eric Russo, digital reporter for the Boston Bruins, here alongside Sports Hub radio analyst Bob Beers to moderate today's discussion. Joining us in attendance today are Gold season ticket holders, and we'd also like to welcome and thank the first responders, nurses, and other frontline workers joining us today. We hope you and your families are staying safe and healthy, and we thank you all for your continued support of the Boston Bruins. We will begin shortly, but first I'd like to point out that the chat button and raise hand button on your screen are unavailable. However, you can participate by submitting a question for Gerry by clicking the Q&A button. So with that, I'll turn it over to Beersy to kick things off.
Cheesy, great to see you.
Bobby, pleasure. I didn't recognize you with the, I don't know.
Yeah, I got the same haircut as you now.
Thank you, yeah. Take you up here. You're a long way away from my age.
Hey, hope you're doing well. Hope your family's doing well. We talked just before we went on the air here about your granddaughter helping you get all set up. I hope the whole family's good and safe. How are you? I know that Florida has, which is where you're at. You guys are open for golf now, which is good for you.
Yeah,
how have you been keeping your days here?
Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, my granddaughter, Jules, who goes to Holy Cross, she's helped me out because I'm not very good at this. And I still have a flip-top phone. That's the only thing I carry. But everything's good down in Florida. They opened our golf course last Friday, and we played for, single carts. I don't know what you guys got up there. And the protocol, we have rubber sponge so you don't put your hand in the hole. The ball will just lay there. No rakes, no ball washers, everything they're supposed to do. And 50-minute tee times, you can't get there until 20 minutes before. And there's nowhere to congregate after. I mean, it's the only time I've done sporting events and come right home. I never did it my whole career, but we're doing good. My daughter and her kids are here. And, we're doing what we're supposed to do. And she's getting ready to move up to Boston in July. And right now, it looks like I'll just be staying here in Florida. I usually go up north, but there's not much happening up there. We'll see what it plays out, first of all.
Well, the anniversary here for the 70 team, I know you guys were supposed to come up in, I think it was March, but that's going to be pushed back here. But for that team, Cheesy, I mean, memories from, there's so many of them, I'm sure, but just, some of the fond memories that you have about that team, that era in Boston at that time, and how you guys just captivated all the fans here.
Yeah, it was a special time. There's no question about that. And unfortunately, I have to go by the rule, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas with our team. But it was pretty well straightforward. We had a lot of fun. For example, on the road, we had to go for one beer, no matter if you have parents there or what. We had to go to the same spot for just one beer, in case there's a little frustration, it gets finished too. But we're a closely knit team. We had a lot of fun in the dressing room. For this particular year, we were mostly all business, and we had a lot of fun. And I was looking forward to going back now that since this craziness has put us off. I'm sure we're going to have a lot of fun. I don't know how many reunions you've been to, but they're you get anxious to see what's going to happen to them. But this is a special group. We had all kinds of players that made up this team, and we got together. We played to win, and that was what it's all about, really.
Great, Gerry. Thanks so much. Before we get started with the Q&A, just a note from the Boston Bruins Foundation. In support of COVID-19 relief efforts, the foundation is hosting a raffle where fans have the unique opportunity to enter to win a piece of Bruins history, a mini replica of that famous Bobby Orr the Goal statue, as well as a special Mother's Day call from Bobby Orr to a person of the winner's choosing this Sunday. All proceeds from the raffle will benefit organizations and initiatives that assist those on the front lines of COVID-19 in their communities. You can purchase your raffle tickets now through 2 p.m. on Friday, May 8th at bruinsraffles.org. So with that, Gerry, a lot of questions coming in already, and a lot of them about the mask. So we'll start off with Allie Koss. She'd love to hear from you about having pioneered the goalie mask art and your thoughts on how that sort of evolved over the years to what goalies put on their masks today.
Yeah. Hi, Allie. Let me tell you about the mask. When I first, I had a mask that was useless when I first started. Then I met a man named Ernie Higgins from the South Shore, and he developed this mask for me. And it was the only mask, the first mask I wore from Ernie Higgins. It's the only mask I ever wore, and it's on my grandson's wall right down the street here in Florida. And I evidently it was named the top mask art-wise anyway. But anyway, I used to drive to practice every day, and it was about a 30-minute drive. And my thoughts were how to decorate my mask and how to get out of practice, and not necessarily in that order. So I went into practice because I had an all-white mask. I couldn't even wear white socks for some reason. They disturbed me. So I used to always wear black socks when the rest of the team was wearing white. So I kept. So I went to practice day. Harry was coaching, and the puck flipped up, and it wouldn't have cut me if I didn't have my mask on. That's how soft the shot was. So I faked like I was seriously hurt, which is trying to take care of getting out of practice. So I go in the dressing room, and I was having whatever I was having, probably reading the racing form and having a cigarette at the time. And Harry came in and said, "Get back out there, you're not hurt." And our trainer, who I'm sure you've heard many stories about, John Frosty Forrestal, who was a character. And I didn't even think of this, he did. Before I went out, he went, "Hold it." And he got my mask and he painted a big, an 8-stitch scar over my right eye, and went out there and we got a kick out. I said, "Harry, I think I'm seriously hurt." And he, it was a joke. And that's how it all started. And and we kept track. We embellished it a little bit, but Frosty did all that. And I remember one night playing in St. Louis, and I was down and out, and the only way I could get to make the save was put my head in front of it, which I wouldn't have done if I didn't have a mask, and right off my nose. And Ernie Higgins, I don't know, Bobby, if you ever met Ernie Higgins, he was quite a character. His son was a goalie, that's why he made a mask. Anyway, he come in and practice the next day, or the next time we had practice, and he was all concerned what the reaction to was when I get hit right in the nose. And I said, "Well, we have to do something about the chips getting in my defenseman's eyes." And he thought that was serious, but it was fine. We had sponges in there, and that's really the story of my mask. And right now, there's been a lot of offers. A couple of people in Toronto who saved stuff like that, and some serious offers, which I won't sell for the mask. But evidently, it was named the best art mask. So to answer another part of your question is, at times, I feel a pioneer. I was somewhat of a pioneer in hockey because I actually decorated my mask. If you know goalies the way I do or Bobby does, none of them would probably be smart enough to put anything on their mask. So if I didn't do it, maybe they'd all been white masks. And what good is that?
And Jeffrey Freeman says the NHL didn't always require them for goalies. What was that like when you had pucks coming at you that, and didn't have the mask on or a helmet?
It was scary. It created change of underwear a lot, I'll tell you that. And you play different, though. It took me when I got when the Bruins picked me up by I forget how they did, waivers or something. I said, and I wasn't wearing a mask at the time. I was playing in Rochester for the Leafs organization. I said, if I'm going to make it, if I'm going to have a career in the NHL, I got to get a mask. And I took Lefty Wilson, an old trainer for the Red Wings. He had the only mask out, unless you wore one of those big plexiglass ones, which is impossible. And when you got hit in this mask of lefties, the whole shifted. It was worse in other spots than when you got hit. So finally, I found this Ernie Higgins, and we made a mask, got together and made a mask. And the rule wasn't in yet. This was voluntary. That you didn't have to wear a mask because after me, Gump, Glenn Hall, I just did a special. They're doing some movie on Glenn Hall, who was one of the great goalies of all times. But he played 570 games without a mask consecutively. How bad's that? I mean, that's pretty good, actually. And so I finally, I put the mask on before we had to answer your. I don't know when a goalie had to wear a mask when it was a rule. It was sometime after I put mine on, because I remember even I think in the WHA, a guy named Andy Brown was a goaltender. I don't know if you'd ever remember him. He didn't have a mask, so that I'm not familiar with that too. But he was a stock car driver in the summer, so that would explain that right there. But I don't remember when you had to wear the mask. I put mine on voluntarily.
Cheesy, who's the scariest guy coming down the wing, firing a slap shot at you? I've talked to you about this before, and I think I know who it is, but I want to hear it from you again.
It's going to be Dennis Hull. I don't know if you thought it was him, but Dennis Hull, who was a friend of mine, we were very good friends, and he would never shoot in my head on purpose. It was just, and with him and Bobby never scared me because he usually scored. So I know I wasn't going to get hit. But Dennis would come down and he'd let it go a million miles an hour. I could hear it go by my ear, and he'd circle the net and he'd be giggling like like that. Only Dennis could do. But he Dennis scared me a little bit. And I was doing this interview the other day on the Glenn Hall situation. I can remember, and we were talking about shots that you've seen and missed, and it's only happened to me twice. And one, I come back from the WHA, we're playing the Buffalo in the French Connection line. Now, Rico Martin, I didn't know how he could shoot it. I found out very quickly, and he held his stick way high, and he come down the wing, and Perot made him a pass, and I'm standing there. I had a good beat on it, and it went by my ear before I moved. That was one. And previous to that, a guy just went in the Hall of Fame this year, Nedemansky, Vaclav Nedemansky. He again held his hands up here, not like that, like this, if you can see, and it's like this. And I looked at it. I didn't know who he was. He came from Czechoslovakia, great player, by the way. And I'm looking at it, and before I know it, the puck hit the glass. And they're the only two shots I really missed. I mean, I missed some because I couldn't find the puck or it was on the screen or something like that. But two guys that shot, I don't know about if you're familiar with anyone who shot from up here. I'm trying to think one of our Bruins, past or present, who did that. But, and boy, you got to be awful strong to let that puck go from there. They both, I had a beat on it and missed it.
Just a reminder to everybody that the Q&A button is at the bottom of your screen. We'd love to hear from everybody. Jerry George Sarabian says he was in a TV commercial with you and Ken Hodge back in the day, and he wants to know who was the biggest practical joker on the team.
Well, that's a good question. I remember George. Hi, George. Who's the big? Believe it or not, we all had our fair share, but and I'm not saying this. Sneakily, Bobby was pretty good at practical jokes, subtly, but we would never know it was him. Like a couple of players had an argument once or something on the ice, a little beef or something. I remember Bobby, our next trip, he bought them each a little toy gun or a toy knife or something to go after, a rubber one, right? And I don't know how he thought of that, but he did. I don't know. Myself, maybe. Phil liked joking around. We used to do. We had a costume party once, and Phil went as a cheerleader, and he was the ugliest cheerleader you ever saw in your life. And we used to always kid about, seeing him from behind and say, "Oh, he had the nice wig." Excuse me. He had a nice wig on and everything like that, and you tap him on the shoulder, and you turn around and you go, "Oh, geez," like Kramer would do or something like that. But Phil was a lot of fun, and I really, Eddie J and I had a lot of good times together. I remember when Swoop Carlton came. I don't know if you remember Swoop, Bobby, but he was like Hercules. And believe it or not, for 3 or 4 months, I had him believing I could beat him arm wrestling, and EJ was part of this act too, and. Everywhere we went, and we'd bring up arm wrestling. And he always wanted to arm wrestle me. And I'd just get away, Swoop. I said, you should have seen him. If you remember, honest to God, he had arms this big. My wife was even money to beat me arm wrestling. I couldn't beat anyone. So we were at a party one night, and we're out in the pool, and Dallas Smith, a very strong, really one of the strongest guys you've ever saw. I'm firing him out of the water. He's coming out like a porpoise. And Eddie J's talking to Swoop Carlton, like, Jerry's the strongest, oh, he says, I got to try him. I got to arm wrestle. This went on for 3 or 4 months. So finally we had a party one night, and I walk in, and I said, tonight, Swoop, we're going to find out if you can beat me arm wrestling. And he takes off his shirt. He's like Man Mountain Dean like this. He says, I've been waiting for 3 months for that. And we got on the table, put our arms on the table. And I said, hold it. And I took out $100. I put it on the table and I said, 2 to 3 for 100. And he backed right off. He said, no, I don't want to put money. He was afraid to put the 100 up to arm wrestle me. I mean, he just had a look at me and I was gone. So I took the 100 back and we never did get the arm wrestle too. But getting back to the practical joker part of it, Ace was a lot of fun too. We had a lot of fun with Ace. We really went on the belief that what did happen in the dressing room stayed in the dressing room too. We were a pretty disciplined team in that respect, and I respected that more than anything. We weren't what maybe a lot of people thought we were. We were fun, had a lot of fun, and we're business and worked hard at business. So and really, there are a lot of things I can't tell you, but it was no different. I'll tell you what, it's no different from a team that wins the Stanley Cup. There is a lot of fun there, believe me, in one way or another.
And Michael Sarabian says in the off season, his dad told him that a lot of players would have other jobs. Is that true? And what was that like?
Well, early in my career, I don't think they do now, but even then we didn't go, our first Stanley Cup, I think our playoff split was like 11,000. That was enough to get you through the summer until you started working again. But earlier when we played, Bobby, I don't know when if you were in the minors, but we didn't make much money in the minors. I mean, my first contract was $5,000, and we had to work in the I used to work at the Fort Erie racetrack. That was an 8-week week. I made about 200 a week. I was walking horses and make another 100, just to go home and put food on the table. But just to tell you, I played with a player in Rochester, and I was making $5,000 because the Leafs signed me. In fact, I got a good signing bonus, and so I roomed with Red Armstrong, and we were sort of notorious. So Red come out of the East Coast League, and at the end of the year, about the last week of the year, I said to Red, "How much are you going to save this year?" He said, 3. I scratched my head, and he said to me, I said, "Well, I'm going to do 2. He's saving 3. He's come out of the East Coast League. Yeah, that's hard to believe." I said, "Red, you're saving 3,000 this year?" He said, "Oh, you're talking about thousands?" We were talking about hundreds, right? He thought we were talking about. And Red went home, was a steel rigger, and actually died on the fall in Sault Ste. Marie. But we had to go home and work. I worked until I really had a one-way NHL contract and tried to save 3 or 4. And those, my first, and I don't mind talking about this, my first year in the NHL, I think I made 10,000, 10,500 or 11. Then I made 12. Then Eagleson come along, and I made less. One year, I think I only lost 4 or 5 games. I was making 12,000. I wanted 14, and I got hired Eagleson. And when I said, "Al, would you represent me?" He said, "Yeah," and I got a bill for $250 for asking him. So I figured this is good. So now he said to me, he said, "What do you want?" I said, 15, 16, and then, and he said, "Well, you might not have to go to training camp." I said, "I'm going to training camp. That's a lot. You talk about a lot of fun." That was a lot of fun. So we went on through training camp, and I was at 12,000, and he wouldn't let me play a game, which was okay with me. But so it gets near the end, I had to play a game just to get in shape. So finally, we're driving to Boston to start the season. I said, "Al, I got a signer. I can't play." He says, "Wow, we've lost our leverage." I said, "I don't know, what are you going to sign?" He said, "I can get you 14. So he gets me 14 after making 12. I get there, I get a bill from him for 2,000. I'm making exactly the same I did the year before. I said, it was ridiculous. We didn't have much leverage once again. And that was my deal with Al Eagles, my last deal with him, actually.
Geez, I'm actually rereading Russ Conway's book about
that was good.
Eagleson and the corruption in the NHL right now. Fascinating stuff. The late Russ Conway.
Russ actually won a Pulitzer, I think, for that, or some sort of a prize. Yep. He worked his tail off doing that. That was a great book.
Hey, tell me, take me back to the 70s team here. I asked Turk the other day on Tuesday. I think we had him. You know all the big name guys, right? But give me somebody on that team that, or a couple players on that team that maybe were unsung and really did a great job that didn't get maybe the credit.
Well, from my viewpoint, being a goaltender, I have two guys, well, actually three. It wouldn't be fair not to, but Dallas Smith and Ricky Smith were terrific defensemen. For me as a goaltender, they were great. Donnie Ari is a different style. Donnie had natural abilities like, you know, and slide, and he'd go everywhere. Same with Doki. But two are really unsung heroes to me was Dallas and Ricky Smith, the cough drops, we used to call them, and Smith brothers. And you know what? I mean, Donnie Marcotte was a left wing with Turk and Eddie Westfall. What a line that was. I mean, he didn't get much fanfare, Donnie, but I'll tell you, when that line was on the ice, I sort of took a coffee break most of the time. That's how good they were. And the rest is, you know, what you saw is what you got. But I would say Dallas and Ricky Smith were two great not underappreciated. We all appreciated it in the dressing room, but that the public might not think that they're excellent players, strong. From my viewpoint, strong in front of the net. I used to see the puck a lot then.
A couple questions about today's goalies coming in. One from Thomas Carey. He says, you never waited for the team to react. You were always so aggressive in the crease. What do you think about the way goalies are treated these days?
Well, with a little more love than we were, for sure. And, you know, they're protected to the ninth and to the nth degree, I should say. And I don't, you know, I think they can only get hurt mechanically. I don't think they're ever going to get hurt with a shot. We never had a crease rule, what they got now, which has been interpreted about 10 different ways since they put it in. And if you went out to field the puck, you were game. And I remember a time in Atlanta, I went out with about 5 seconds left in the period, the second period, and Billy Plett, I had just come back from the World Hockey. I knew who Billy Plett was, but I'm counting the time down, so I don't want to give up the puck with 10 seconds. I'm going 4-3-2. And I finally lobbed it up there where the bell went, and he nailed me. And it had a big brawl. I mean, we got guys kicked out of the game, and Grapes wasn't going to let me go back in. And I said, I got to go back in, Grapes. It was my first game back or second game. And he said, why? I said, we'll find out, right? And I leveled Billy Platt. You know, big gorilla when he come back. I give him a two-hander that was one of my better ones.
And Tracy,
back to your question. You know what? I hang around in the summers with Billy Smith a lot. Now, you should be asking him those questions. But we just can't believe that no one's going after the goalies, that how soon they drop. You know, I mean, I've never seen so many goals go upstairs in a playoff series. How many goals are roofed to win or tie the game? I mean, if we did that, we wouldn't be around. We wouldn't be playing. And actually, with this Glenn Hall story the other day, Glenn Hall was a dropper, one of the best ever, but he was so fast. Tony Esposito, and I don't know if you remember Roger Crozier, who won the Conn Smythe for the Detroit Red Wings. He was a little guy, but in dropping, and I don't see that today, is they drop, their timing is right on. Right on their timing. In other words, they before they do the butterfly, or whatever they call it, they've shut you off. Tony was really good at that. And Tony wasn't a big guy, Tony Esposito, and he would wait, and his timing was perfect. Glenn Hall's timing was perfect, little Roger Crozier's. So now I see them now, and they're so big, so largely padded. They go down as the puck's coming across the blue line. They're already in a position like that. Now, Patrick Waugh did it, but he was a big man, and his timing was right on, too. And Martin Brodeur, who, in my opinion, I would, in my era, or before my era, I picked Chuck Hall and Plant. But I think Martin Brodeur might have been, putting everything together, been the best goaltender ever. He didn't drop. He stood up, handled the puck better than anyone ever had or ever will. And now we get to today's goalies. I don't know. I mean, I love Tuukka. Tuukka is, you know, he's big. He's, you know, he fills the net. And I would say he's in the top 2 or 3 in the league right now. I can't think of Price. I'm not a big Price fan. Price hasn't won, and he loses certain games that he shouldn't lose. So, and and I watch the Panthers, and that's about it.
And Rick Cohen has a question about coaching. He says, did you enjoy that time after retiring, and what was it like to be a coach of the Bruins?
It was great to be a coach of the Bruins. Did I like it? No. I went away from playing to coaching too. And somewhere along the line, I figured the reality of the situation is there's only one winner every year. And when I was coaching, there's probably, I don't know, 24 teams maybe. So there's 24, even if you went to the Stanley Cup finals and lost in the 7th game, you lost. And it was a tough position. It was tough for me early when I came because I'm coaching players I played with. I went to war with, and I struggled with that, and I'm sure they struggled with it too. I tried to let, performance dictate who plays and who gets ice time and all that, and it was difficult. And but it worked out. My coaching record was okay. But if I had to do it again, I'd try and play 3 or 4 more years rather than coach. And it's the coach, Bobby, that when you guys won the cup there with the guy in Montreal now, what's his name? Julie. Yep. Terrific guy. I was so happy for him. He's a down there great guy. Evidently this guy coaching the Bruins now is pretty damn good too, and pretty popular guy. And but they're still in the same position. There's only one winner every year, and that means if you didn't win the cup, you failed, and you could have gone to the finals a few times like the Bruins did, and even though you did a great job in that, you didn't win. So to answer the original question is, I wasn't the happiest dude in the world coaching. I was much happier losing than winning because I went home after a loss and got it out of my mind and went to sleep. Winning, I tossed and turns figuring how we won and how good it was. So I coached with Harry Sin was the GM. That wasn't a problem at all. In fact, it was very advantageous to me. Harry was one of the best coaches I ever played for, and he had the right answers most of the time. But it was. I think if I went into a different environment where I was coaching, well, it was a year after I retired, so I'd be coaching no one I knew, and that was a tough part about it.
Cheesy, give me a story from the '70s team that you can tell off the ice. I know that I guess we have to keep it PG rated, but give me something.
I don't think there is one that is PG. But, no, it's how can I say it? It's the stories weren't as what you would think they are, what the public thought of this team. We were the big bad Bruins and all that, but we were together. Maybe this just to explain the story, and Derek doesn't mind this too. Is we went to training camp when we were just getting to be a good team and everything, and NFL actually, and when we had the 2 or 3 hours off between morning and afternoon practice, we all congregate in my room or something like that. And how's the summer been? And Derek said he was dating Joey Hetherington, who was a young actress at the time. And we sort of said, yeah, sure you were, Derek. And I think he got a little upset because the next day when we got in for practice, Joey was there. He had to bring her in to prove to us that he was dating her too. So, that's just a little story. But Derek, to Bobby, a good story, usually Derek would be in the good story too, but all good stories too. As far as that year, I think, we had stories. I'm not going to lie to you and say we didn't have stories, but to give the PG version of it is very difficult. I understand.
Barry Phil Coombs wants to know about the WHA, and do you think the Bruins would have won more cups after '72 if not for that league?
That's a good question. Would they have won more cups? We lost Pye, Derek, Eddie Westfall won an expansion draft, and myself. But they still have Bobby and Phil, and that was a tough question. Would you? You never know who's going to win. But as far as the WHA goes, and I'll tell you the story. Charlie McCahey, who was a lawyer for the Bruins, was doing the signing, and he didn't know hockey from highlight. He had no idea, and I don't care if he's listening or not. He probably isn't. that year we won our second cup. This is before the summer of the WHA. And once again, I don't mind talking about this because this is where we're at. And I lost 4 games all year. And I know it was with a great team with great players. And I was making 50,000 at that time. And the WHA was a reality. And I go in to see this guy, Mulcahy, and he said, we really launch a boom, boom, boom like this, and we'll give you a $5,000 raise. And I was like an uppercut. I said, what? And so I walk out of there, and I went to a watering hole. I guess it was the 4s or 3Bs at that time, one of them. And I had a few pops, and boy, oh boy, this is they don't want me. They don't care about me. And rightfully so, don't get me wrong. I'm, Bobby and Phil and the rest of the guys, they'd be a good team. I understand. And Eddie was there, Eddie J. So I get a call from a friend of mine who was representing me in a little, signing autographs or something like that. He says, I just got a call from Cleveland, a guy named Nick Maletti, who you would have heard of, and I hadn't heard of him, but he owned the Cleveland Indians. He would like to see it. He just got your rights from New England. New England Whalers, who drafted me in the WHA draft, they weren't going to sign any Bruins. They weren't even, that was what is bad business. So he traded my rights to Cleveland. So I go there, and I take this friend of mine, Larry Gordon, who's since passed, but I said, no, Larry, you do all the talking for me. We've never dealt with this kind of money. I said, I want $1 million. How did I put it here? $1 million for 4 years, right? This is, which was probably more money than any hockey player did at the time. And that's until Bobby Hull signed with the Winnipeg Jets. So he said, okay. So we go there, we have lunch with Nick Maletti, and he's a fabulous guy, fabulous guy. And we go to his club, and he finally said, what's it going to take to get you to come and play for the Cleveland Crusaders? And I had probably had a couple of Bloody Marys. And I said, $1 million 4 years. And he said, you got a deal. What? He says, we're going to make a deal, he said. And I said, well, Nick, I said, I don't want to leave the Bruins, but if that money's ever sincere, he said, we'll go back, and 1 week we'll meet. So I flew home. I flew back to Cleveland a week. I talked to the Bruins, and I said to him, okay, he said, here's the deal. You want me to play for the Bruins? I want $300,000 over 3 years. I don't care how you give it to me. And I said, that's the deal I want. And he had come up to 60,000. He said, no, he'd come up to 110 for 2 years. I said, see you later. So I go back to Cleveland, talk to Nick, and Nick says, Gerry, we want you for a long time. We'll give you $1,750,000 for 7 years, which is a $250 a year. I mean, how can you turn that down? I said, Nick, I don't have a lawyer. I don't know the legalities of it. I don't know, boom, boom. So, but anyway, it was worked out where $250,000 was put into an escrow account, which would be the last year's contract. Ready to make the move. And I'll tell you a funny story. And Tommy Johnson was coaching the Bruins then. And we used to go to Rockingham. I had horses there. And he says, I want to meet you there. So Tommy and I go there. And he says, Gerry, he says, I'm here to offer you, he's our coach now in the Bruins, to offer you the same as the Cleveland Crusaders. And I told him what they offered me. And he said, do they need a coach? Which, if you knew Tommy Johnson, that was his style. So anyway, I went back and I give the Bruins many a chance. And I went and got a lawyer from St. Catharines, a family lawyer, to okay the contract. And that's all it all happened. And, so, oh, geez, what do you do and talk about? I don't mind talking about that because that's life. And that's, I wouldn't have gone there. Bobby Hull hadn't gone, and maybe J.C. Trombley took it back. And Bobby Hull to about, I think, I got $1 million a year. And so anyway, I'm playing a golf tournament with Eddie, and we're driving together, and he had just signed with the Bruins, and I had to keep this really secret. I mean, he got mad at me, Eddie. I don't blame him. I said, I wish I could have told you, but you shouldn't have signed so soon, And he only got mad at me for a while. That's all.
We have time for a couple more, Gerry. Dan Roach from WBZ wants to know what goes through your mind when you see the Orr game-winning goal photo, and have you ever named a horse after a teammate or something to do with the Bruins?
First of all, I'm glad, and you counting Danny asking the right question. Danny grew up with my kids, and he's a great guy, Danny. Nice hearing from you, Dan. Anyway, no one knows this. Two things in the Orr goal. One is, I let two of the worst goals in history in. It was a game that we were probably 10-1 favorites. No one is serious and everything like that. And it was a type of game that, hey, we're just going to win it and win the cup. Well, St. Louis played a hell of a game, but I really let two terrible goals in to force it into overtime. And so Bobby could get that goal. Now, if I didn't do that, you might not have heard of Bobby Orr. And with 15 seconds left in that game, and I'm trying to get someone to look it up, and I don't blow my own horn or something. Larry Keenan, who played for St. Louis, a team I admire thing, he had a point-blank shot with 15 seconds left, and I was falling, and somehow I got my glove on it behind my back to keep the tie and go into overtime. If that goal goes in, we're back to St. Louis for a fifth game. So, you know, and when Bobby got the goal, I was at the other end, and in celebration, I threw my stick up, and it balanced on the glass, and I got halfway to the blue line, rushing down to the celebration. I said, geez, maybe I could use that stick. And it fell on the stick side, on the ice side, so I went and picked it up and joined the celebration. But that's the Orr story. As far as naming horses, Danny, you should know this. I had a horse called I had a horse called Royal Ski, who was a really good horse. He was like second or third favorite in the Derby, the Winter Book Derby. And I had a horse called Score for Orr. They're both the same age, 3-year-olds. And I almost named Royal Ski Score for Orr and Score for Orr Royal Ski. That means that this horse would obviously got a lot of publicity going to the Derby. I ended up syndicating him. Then he got sick. I had to give the syndication money. But that was one Score for Orr that ended up running in claiming races at Rockingham. I had a horse called Captain Cash for Wayne Cashman. And the horse... a storybook horse called Doki. Now, Bearsy, I'm sure you'd appreciate this. And he was exactly like Doki. I didn't know where he was running. But we're going to make a little bet on him. And a friend of mine that was going to Vegas, when you can bet in Vegas. So Doki was in a last race at Laurel Park in Maryland. And we happened to be playing in Washington that night, which is near Maryland. So I could go down and, he's only here because the team plays, blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, I had made a decent sized bet. I sent a guy to Vegas. Well, to make a long story short, I get a call around 9 a.m, cancel all procedures. The poor fella I went to Vegas, who I didn't know very well, there was a fire at the MGM. All my money was gone. The guy ended up dying in the fire. And then I said, it's only because of Doki, being named Doki, right? And that was Doki never did get to break his maiden, and we used to have a lot of fun with it. And who else? I had one other one. When Grapes was coaching, I named a horse Around the Boards, because Grapes' strategy as a coach, when you got the puck behind your net, now here who he had in the wings: Cash, Johnny Winsick, Al Secord, Stanley Jonathan, Terry O'Reilly, and Bobby Smarts. He said, when you come back to your end, just get on the points. And you got the puck, you just drill it around there and the puck's out. And it was a good thing, except Parkey didn't really understand that. Parkey, he wants to analyze and come up dipsy doodle and all that. But when you have wingers like that, just shoot around there. You look up about halfway through the first period, the defense are way at the other blue line waiting for everyone. It was an easy thing. So I called this horse Around the Boards. It didn't really amount to much, but it was fun. That's about it. I had a horse, my dad, he was a sports person, Joe Cheevers, and we won the championship in Rochester, the Calder Cup, and we were all making like 5,000 or something. And we went to a celebration at a bar after, and there was no champagne, so my dad ordered champagne for the team that I paid for. So from then on in, he was called Champagne Joe, which I named a horse. It was a pretty good horse, in New Jersey bred, that won some races too. So that's about it. Danny, you should have known that anyway.
All right, Gerry, we'll finish with this one from Jeffrey Freeman. He said, you're the first Bruins goalie a lot of us ever knew and a childhood hero to many of us. What's your message to the Bruins fan base?
Well, just be the same. You're the best fans in the country in hockey. You know hockey better than any fans in the league. You support your team. You fall in love with your team, which is great, and they need it a lot of times. Teams need that support from the fans. Just be what you are, and that's avid hockey fans, avid Bruins fans, and you've proven it time and time, era after era. There's some down times, not that you stuck by it that much, but when they come back, you were right there, and it's obviously a great franchise, and just stick by them. They're going to win the cup soon, and they've done a great job, that organization. I don't know what's the format's going to be or what's going to happen, but you took a guy like Patrice Bergeron, when I still worked for the Bruins, came along, and Zeno Chara after, and I worked with Tuchel, but these are good people. The Bruins have done a good job in hiring and signing and recruiting, classy players. And certainly Patrice Bergeron is an A1 example of that too. And you like being associated with people like that. And when Bobby and then Phil and all that, you took to us. You took to that team, and you've continued to do it. And all I can say is keep doing it.
Well, thanks so much, Gerry, and thanks, Beersy. Just a reminder to everyone watching that at bruinsraffles.org, you can bid on that great raffle for the Bobby Orr the Goal statue, which ends tomorrow at 2. So thanks again.
In front of the Gardens?
Sorry, Gerry?
You're raffling off the statue in front of the Gardens, or a replica?
It's a replica statue.
Oh, okay.
So a very cool prize, and a call from Bobby as well on Sunday to the person of your choosing on Mother's Day. So thanks again to everybody for joining us, and stay safe. Hopefully we'll see everyone around the rink again soon. Take care.
Hope to see you in the fall.
Definitely.